Recently someone asked me how to make a model for the editor, more specifically a house. Now I could spend half an hour or an hour sitting here and making a house, which I really don't want to do for this one. Just going to be a nice quick tutorial, and we're just going to do a simple cube. But the way we do it, you can model it to be anything you want, a house, a garage, a plane if you want. It's entirely up to you, so let's get started. First off, we're going to make a new folder. Got a shortcut. Because I'm doing a cube, mine's just going to be ATS cube. Inside this folder, make another folder. Call it def, and inside def, another folder called world. Now you're going to want to grab a map mod. I'm using Australian Outback map because it has a model.sii file. So def world model.koala.sii. Any map you like, just so it has one. Or if you've got your game files extracted, you can use that one as well and modify it. So we're going to rename this to something unique, no more than 12 characters per full stop. So model.dgx.sii, we're going to open it up. Now, first off, model def, we don't want it to be 1 or 2, that's going to clash. Something unique, so dgx1, because there doesn't exist one with that name. Model description is the folder and path to your model. So in my case, it's going to be cube folder, and the model name is going to be cube. This is entirely up to you what you call your folders, what you call your model in Blender. Category is what shows up in the content browser. My cube, nice and simple. So when you change your model def, description, and category, you're done. Save that and close it. Go back to the root, make another folder. I'm going to call it model. And inside model, make another folder and call it cube. Next up, we'll need a texture. We've already got one here. Make sure your image resolution is by the power of 2. So 256, 512, 1024, 2048, whatever you like. Has to be a targa.tga. And inside model and cube is where we're going to put our texture. So when you've got both those folders set up, we're going to need to open Blender. Still on 2.93 because I don't really feel like changing it at the moment, it works. No, recently Blender Tools has been released with an update, but for the moment, and this tutorial, just going to do it on 2.93. So first off, you're going to need to set your project base path, active tool and workspace setting, SCS project base path, and click on folder. You should see model and def. Click on select, make sure it's set, it will go grey or black, whichever colour that is, but with a dark grey. We're going to make a new model now, so Shift and A, Mesh and Cube, and then Shift and A with it selected, SCS object and root object. So this bit here, the X, Y and Z is your root object. I'm going to double click it and name it Cube, because you remember we had our model and cube folder, and we've called it Cube there, so we call it Cube here. Click on the arrow to drop down, select the second object. I'm going to duplicate it twice. So Shift D, enter, and again Shift D and enter. We're going to rename the first one to Cube Coal, and the second one Cube Shadow. You can call these whatever you like. They don't have to be coal and shadow, just so we know which is going to have collision and which is going to have a shadow. First off, we're going to hide those two and just the main one with a texture. Material properties, click on new, scroll down to SCS material, click on the color management. Shader preset, you can choose anyone you like. I'm just going to use diff for diffuse. Add vertex colors to active. Under mapping, click on the box and click UV map. And in texture, click on the folder, navigate model, cube, and double click your TGA file. And your object will be textured. Now this button here, between texture and mapping, is your create TOBJ object. Click on that, click on the folder, and then double click this TOBJ file. Now, if you're going to scale up your image, you're going to want U repeat and V repeat ticked. But as we're not, we can leave it unticked. Next up, we're going to do the collision. So make sure only collision is enabled and selected. And under SES object and SES parts, you'll have default part, but we need another one. Click on the plus icon and rename the new entry COLL and click assign. So now when we have a cube and cube col, we look at the top and down here, they go back and forth. One for default, one for the collision. And while I'm on collision actually, click on new material, go to shader preset and click on none. So there's nothing applied, just a wireframe of the mesh. And add vertex colors again to active. Lastly, we're going to need the shadow selected. New material, down to shader preset and shadow only. It'll go purple, and again add vertex color to active. And that is it. So it's got a shadow, got a collision, and it's got a texture. Click on the game object at the top. Click on output properties, and under SES export, find default export path. Click on the folder, navigate to model, cube, and select. Click on export. Under mod package settings, click on this far right little magnifying glass and select your game. So in my case, it's going to be ATS. Under here is your mod name, so ATS cube, just so you know what it is. The zip file is going to be uncompressed. Don't tick moderate, don't tick folder, only uncompressed. And as always, clean and convert are the only ones you want ticked, not export because we've just done it. So when that's all done, we're going to click pack, and that will put that mod into our mod folder with the automat files for the texture. Then all that's left to do, we're going to load up the editor and then test the model has collision and a shadow in the editor. Best off to double check the mod folder. Also map with our three textures, def, world, model. As you can see, as we named it before, model cube, cube PMD, my cube, DGX1. And in model cube, DDS texture from the conversion, texture object pointing to our texture, PMD for the descriptor, and PMG is the geometry. So now we can load up the game, or the editor. Mine's a shortcut which I've shown before how to do it. Nothing quite like doing a tutorial at 3:45 in the morning. But my sleep schedule has gone back, so that is when I'm awake now. Anyway, we're going to load up the editor and get to the road. So press 1 on your keyboard, press E, just do any road, just so we've got something to put our cube on. We're going to press 4, or we can choose it in the drop down here. Press E. That shouldn't be like that. But if yours does look like this, I'm going to show you how to fix it. So the main cube selected by the texture, right click, shade smooth. I think it's a good idea to show you problems, because then I'll show you how to fix them. And this wasn't actually planned, I did forget to do this. Normals, auto smooth. Go to modifier, add modifier, and choose edge split. Leave it as it is, these both should be ticked on 30 angle, 30 degrees. Drop down menu and apply. You don't have to have these shown, it's just so I can see which is which. Anyway, game object selected again, export and pack. The amount of models I've made, you would have thought I'd known to do auto smooth and edge split, but there you go. So now back into the editor. Now, if for whatever reason you press 1, 2, etc., and this doesn't change, minimise and expand it again. And then you can put your road down. Don't know why it does that, but there you go. C, change the camera. And again, press 4 for your model. E to bring up the item. Click. And there you go. There's your model, how it should look with a shadow. Forgot to bring it up in Blender, but as you can see, it's sunken. And this is where the middle line is. If you did want to fix that, 2.5 on the Z-axis, or actually 0.1 for each thing, just to bring it up into the middle. And then you would select all three with the Z on 1 meter on location, apply the location, and then it'll export how it should be. See, we've got the shadow. Now let's test the collision. So the red arrow, red flag even, is where we're going to put our truck. Just save it so we can run it. Just going to call it test. And then green arrow to run. Gonna have to change the graphic settings because on low it doesn't do the shadow, which is quite annoying. You can see we're going to bump into it. There you go, shadow collision. Now that's a 2 meter cardboard box, so it is pretty big. But that's how you do models for the editor. Simple as that, and I've shown you how to fix a problem if you got one. That pretty much covers it. I will try and show you how to do a building and a curve model. They're both pretty much the same. It's how they do fences, barriers, and how they draw them on a line that curve around an object, and just how they make walls for the game. Looking to doing that maybe later this week or next week. So that covers that. Have fun, take care, and I'll see you later.